One. Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Forechecking TV. I'm TK. We got Johnny, Doug, and Scotty joining us today. Big topic, we've all been talking about for the past 2 days. We're excited for tonight too. But the man, the myth, the guy who just keeps making mistakes in the NHL, as most of us consider, Mr. Tom Wilson, when he literally annihilated Artemi Panarin and Buchnevich in not last night's game, but the night before versus the Rangers. So that's the big topic. Let's get into it. Throw it up for discussion. I'm sure we got some stuff to show the viewers about it too. So let's get started.
All right. I'm just going to start off by saying I have no idea how they can continue to fuck this up every single time. You know, it's almost like they want this type of thing to happen. Yeah. You know, they want people to end up like Steve Moore did when he got high sticked in the head by Todd Bertuzzi. They want, people's careers to end. They want these guys to have concussion issues so bad that they can't be with their families or they end up passing away. You know, they want all of this. It's the good old hockey game. It's old time hockey. It's Gordie Howe garbage. The fact that people think that Gordie Howe is one of the top 3 greatest players of all time just proves to me where we're at as a sport and where the sport is going. You know, Tom Wilson really isn't even a great player. I mean, yeah, he can score a little bit, but when I think of it, I think that he's really no different than what Matt Cook was on the Penguins. You know, he probably should be a third liner. But they play with Ovi and whoever Ovi's center is at a given time, whether it's Backstrom or Kuznetsov, because they're big and obviously people say tough to play against, but they're big guys, why not? But guys, I just don't understand how we're still talking about this. I feel like we've been talking about this for the better part of 5 years. And the last time we had a big discussion on this was probably 3 years ago, whenever he took out Zach Aston Reese. And again, it was the same bullshit. It was the same thing of people saying, oh, he led with the shoulder. He did this, he did that. No, call it what it is. He hit him in the fucking head and he broke his jaw.
Yeah, we talked about before with when we took out Carlo, you could clearly see when he came towards him at the boards, he jumped up. Mm-hmm. He left his feet, raised towards the air directly to go for his head. And you can clearly see if you're going towards the boards to check someone into them, you go right at him. You don't leave your feet, get some air under you the way you can plunge up into his head, leading with your shoulder. It's clearly obvious.
It really is, honestly. Let's just recap this whole thing. For those of you who've been living under a rock for the last 2 days, if you haven't seen the play with Buchnevich and Panarin, Buchnevich is basically lying on the ice, and I guess he may have taken a little poke at the Capitals netminder Vanacek. Wilson punches him. It looks like it was in the shoulder, or some people say it was the head. To me, on the replay, it looked like it was in the shoulder. Regardless, Buchnevich is lying face down on the ice. He's a defenseless player, so he can't defend himself for that. Then Artemi Panarin tries to jump in and pull him off his teammate, being a good guy. They end up getting into a scrum, Panarin and Wilson. Panarin ends up getting his helmet knocked off, and then Wilson flat out choke slams Panarin onto the ice head first, and now he's going to miss the rest of the year. So, first off, talk about Panarin. I talked about it earlier. Guy who's had a terrible year, had a bunch of issues over in Russia that he had to go settle, just with his own life. And now his season gets ended like that. It's just terrible. From what I just – and then you have last night, the whole Crosby Konechny thing where – people are trying to say, "Oh, why does Crosby not get any type of punishment for what he did?" That's star treatment. No, it's not. He pushed a guy's head into the ice. There's a huge difference between pushing someone's head into the ice and choke slamming someone from the top rope. That's a huge difference compared to what those are two completely separate incidents. And the question I want to ask you guys is, why does Tom Wilson continue to get a pass? Why does he get that pass? Think about it. The only player that, Dougie, you made the comparison to, Matt Cook, when Matt Cook had his hit in 2011 against Ryan McDonough, the NHL stepped up huge. And they said, hey, this has got to stop. You're suspended X amount of games and you're going to miss the first round of the playoffs. And, from then, Cook was clean for a couple of years then after that. Why is Tom Wilson, who let me look here, has been suspended 4 times and been fined many more, why does he continue to get the pass that other players haven't?
Does Tom Wilson and the NHL have a marriage?
No, but honestly though, it's different player safety regimes. Matt Cook ran around in the era of player safety when it was ran by Brendan Shanahan, and I'm not saying Brendan Shanahan was
one of the better player safety advisors because he took no bullshit. Yeah. Literally anybody that came in, if it was remotely close, he was having a talk with you next morning. Whether you wanted to or not, it happened. George Peros, I'm sorry, he's from that goon era. He's from that roughneck. We're gonna play that old time hockey there, bud. Like Gordy E and all them did when the league started. I'm sorry, but that league no longer exists. It hasn't since 2010. And don't get me wrong, I love watching a little bit of rough hockey. What I watched last night with the Penguins and the Flyers is the kind of hockey I like seeing. You had scoring, you had a lot of physicality, a couple fights here and there, because I will say this, I am not a fan of Mark Friedman dropping the gloves, but I respect the hell out of him for doing so. What Tom Wilson's doing, he should have been done years ago. And I'm going to use a word, and I know some people's going to get mad at me. I quite frankly don't care, or you can fuck off. It's favoritism.
Yes.
That is what John. It is. There's no other way around it.
All righty. I feel like we were running around there for 2 minutes, but shit, we hit the point. We got it. So what I was going to say was, I'm not saying Brendan Shanahan was the cleanest player in the world, because he did do some off the wall stuff, but like he was at least a skill player. He at least knew how to score a goal. He at least, knew what he was doing in the aspect of playing an actual hockey game. George Peros doesn't. I can't even tell you how many points George Peros has in the NHL. It's probably under 100. And
no, he broke 100.
Still, he played for like 15 years.
And spent more time in the penalty box than they did on the ice.
Yeah. And, having a guy like that who's like one of the main enforcers in the league's history be your head of player safety, that just seems very corrupt to me. And it gives people like Tom Wilson and Milan Lucic and others a platform to run around and do what they do.
If we have, I don't know if we have it. Is there any chance we can pull up the Rangers statement on here?
Have it right here. I will pull it up for you right now.
Pull it up for us, Johnny, because this is huge for the National Hockey League. So, this is something that I think if any other team has any issue with what happened on will be Monday night, they should do something like this, honestly. If you have a problem with what went down, step up and say something. Don't leave the Rangers hanging like this. I feel like there are other teams that would have a dispute with what's going on here. This is just a huge thing by the Rangers. I've never seen a team straight up say, hey, we think you guys dropped the ball, and I don't think you should be able to have your job. You don't deserve to have you shouldn't be in the position that you're in right now. I think that's huge. That is absolutely huge by the New York Rangers, and kudos to them for stepping up and saying and being bold enough to say, we're not cool with this. You guys need to be better.
Yeah, I agree. And that was one of the biggest statements that we've seen in the history of the league, at least in the past 15 or so years. The last thing that was comparable to it was Mario releasing a statement after the brawl on Long Island whenever Trevor Gillies essentially ended Eric Tangrady's NHL career. It hit differently because Mario released a statement himself. It didn't come from the team, and unfortunately, I got to say it. I mean, as a Penguins fan, I'm kind of breaks my heart knowing that the team would not release a statement like this because their president of hockey operations condones this type of garbage. I mean, up until like literally the trade deadline, the team was deadlocked in intense trade discussions trying to acquire Nick fucking Delorier to come in and be the big, strong man that the Penguins need to protect their stars.
Right.
So like, why not? Why not take a roster spot away from Evan Rodriguez or Zach Aston Reese? Just have big, strong man on the ice to still get his shit kicked in by Tom Wilson in the second round. Why not?
You're 100%. And that's also leading into what's going to happen tonight. Rangers and Capitals are going to face off again tonight at 7 o'clock on NBCSN for those of you who want to tune in or however you guys watch your hockey. So what do you think is going to happen tonight? What should happen tonight? Because, I mean, Doug, we talked about this before the show started. Sean Avery did a cameo for some guy, and he basically said, if I'm on the Rangers tonight, I'm stepping in and I'm taking care of this myself. I'm dumping the puck around the net, and I'm taking a run in either Vitek Vanecek or Ilya Samsonov. One of those guys is going to get dealt with accordingly, and I think that's what it comes to, and that's another reason why player safety needs to step up and be better.
Yeah, but you look at that, and what you're saying is one of them. We all talked about it. They're going to go after one of the goaltenders, just take them out against the boards or whatever. They're going back in for the puck, but you're just going to have something happen again where Wilson's going to come after you. So why not take care of Wilson yourself? Just the thought in my mind.
Because you're not going
to. Because it's literally impossible.
The guy's a metric unit. You're not taking out Tom Wilson. It's not.
You're not getting under his skin that easily.
There needs to be someone in the league that can fucking knock out Tom Wilson.
You're not taking out Tom Wilson.
The only guy that can knock out Tom Wilson is currently playing on his own team. It's Zdeno Chara.
Yeah,
that's the only guy who has a.
But didn't we have Wayne Simmons and Ryan Reeves, right? Wayne Simmons and Ryan Reeves can take it.
Ryan Reeves and Wayne Simmons aren't going to face him at the earliest until May or June, and that's even if they get to face him. So, I mean, that would be cool, but like I said, you have to focus on the here and now. And if they're going to run at your guys, hey, we're out of a playoff spot now. What do we care? Let's hit them where it hurts. Because I mean, look, you can't really hurt Ovi. Ovi's kind of a tank. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Really hurt him.
Ovi's that all-around player that's you can try to do whatever you want to him, but he's still going to put 20 goals up at least and just light you up.
So you got to hit the guys where it hurts. What is the weakest part of Washington's team right now? Their goaltending. They have two very young goalies, and they're heading into the playoffs right now with that inexperience. So, hey, Peter Laviolette basically gets to roll the dice tonight and say, hey, which one of my guys am I willing to risk injuring? Which one am I comfortable with losing the most? Or do you want to, call Craig Anderson up from the taxi squad and have him start tonight? What's the plan of action going to be? Because, I mean, that's really something that they need to think about if you're Peter Laviolette. Because, I mean, like I said, if the Department of Player Safety does not want to step up and do something here, then the players will do it themselves. And that's one of the things that you will always have to compliment the NHL on is no matter, at least the players in that sense, the players have no problem policing the game themselves. And if, proper action is not handled by the front offices in the league, the players will take it in their own hands, and then it gets way worse. And then we will have incidents that we will most likely have tonight. It's part of the reason why it's flawed. And it's part of the reason why the Department of Player Safety just flat out needs to be better. You saw what happened whenever Matt Cook took his run at Mark Savard. The next time the Penguins were playing Boston in TD Garden, Matt Cook had to drop the gloves. I remember I think he fought Sean Thornton maybe or somebody like that. But they were saying, hey, the Rats got to answer the bell. Unfortunately, the there's a difference between Tom Wilson and Matt Cook. And no one's going to beat, like I said, no one's beating up Tom Wilson. So, okay, we're not going to go with you. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to go with one of your teammates, one of those guys that won't defend himself. That's how I am almost positive that's how something like that's going to go down tonight.
The only ones I know that you're not going to go after are on that roster, aside from Tom Wilson, Ovi, Chara, and Backstrom.
And Brendan Dillon.
Yeah. Dillon
Anthony Menta.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's the thing.
5 players.
Yeah.
Of the entire roster. So you can literally pick your poison.
If I'm the Rangers, I'm going after that fourth line. That fourth line's fantastic. You know, the only issue is like when the fourth line's on the ice, so is Garnett Hathaway. And that's another person you have to worry about. But like, you know, if you're able to take out a Nick Dowd or a Carl Hagelin and put them behind the 8 ball a little bit, do it. Because that's what Tom Wilson's game is, guys. I mean, he's not going to take out your star player, but outside of your main core, he's taking out the most important guy, you know? Like, for instance, you know, I said this to you guys the other day. I'm not worried about the Penguins' ability to beat the Capitals in a playoff series whenever they play them. I'm worried about the price they're going to have to pay for it to happen. You know, like it's going to come at the expense of, you know, Brandon Tanev, Teddy Bluger, Brian Dumoulin, someone of that nature that, you know, a casual NHL fan will see it and be like, oh, that's nothing. He just hit like some random guy. But like, really, we all know that the Penguins aren't the same if one of those guys goes down.
Right.
You know, if they lose somebody from that fourth line, that might be what puts them in the coffin. That might be what puts them in the grave. You know, just because that's where they're at. And I mean, you know, like I explained to you guys, he's not going after Crosby, he's not going after Malkin, he's not going after Letang or Gensel or Rust. It's going to be one of those other important role players that the Penguins need to succeed, you know? Like, I mean, Jared McCann is not off the table in this scenario either, you know, to be gotten by Tom Wilson. But, I mean, it's concerning, you know, and it's not even just Wilson on the Capitals. I mean, during the last Capitals game, there were a lot of dangerous hits that Brendan Dillon was laying on Jake Gensel, where he was like 15 feet away from the puck at least, and he was still ramming them into the boards, making it like look like a hit that would require a 5-minute major in game misconduct.
Yeah, Doug, and we talked about with the Brandon Carlo issue and everything too. We have that statement you sent me about that too. If you wanted to take a look at that too.
All right, I'm gonna read this. This is where it's gonna get fun because this is gonna make me nuts. So this is from The Athletic. This was just released the other day. It's from Rick Carpinello of The Athletic. And this is just a small snippet of his article. We've heard George Peros didn't want to suspend Wilson for the brain-damaging assault on Boston's Brandon Carlo, who suffered mood changes and blurry vision from his concussion after being hospitalized by Wilson in early March. I would also like to add that Brandon Carlo had to be taken off the ice on a stretcher and was admitted into the hospital. Commissioner Bettman didn't like the optics and ordered a suspension, so Wilson got 7 games. Before that, he wasn't even considered a repeat offender because the CBA erases priors after a certain period of time transpires. And Rick Carpinello is right. That is absurd. The fact that the CBA runs the way that it does, like where you get granted immunity after a certain amount of time, is crazy. You know? Because what's going to happen if you're in this situation like we are with Wilson right now, where it's like he claims to have changed his ways. He scored 25 goals one year. Whoop-de-fucking-do. But he's still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, he's still attacking defenseless players. He's still attacking guys who won't even fight him. You know? And I just don't understand it.
Take it all the way back to Oscar Sundqvist when he basically killed him too. I mean, this isn't. Well, I don't know how you can just decide. Okay, you can let all that past stuff doesn't count as a repeat offender after so many years. That's bullshit. He done it once. It should all be on your track record, just like a criminal record as a person, as one of us four. If you do something criminally, you get charged for it. It's on your record permanently for your life.
Yeah.
That should be the same way for every player.
Yeah, you don't get
It's absurd.
Exactly. You just don't get it erased.
It's like, okay, it's been enough time. You're good.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Here's the thing. Evidently, Wilson must have known that because the stuff with Brandon Carlo is the first thing that's happened since 2018, suspension-wise. Before that, obviously, you guys brought up Oscar Sundqvist, which was a 14-game suspension, reduced down from 20, which I still think it should have been the full 20. Before that, Dougie, you brought it up, 3-game suspension for the hit to the head and on Zach Aston Reese. Then we got to go back to 2017, where he in a 4-game suspension for a boarding call against Sam Blythe. And during that same year in the preseason, an interference call on Robert Thomas that got him 2-game suspension. And that's not even before.
It's kind of bizarre that he keep going.
I was going to say, and that's not even counting what happened before that with 2016 and further back. Like, these are just some more of the recent stuff. And evident, like you said, Ed, after a certain period of time, it doesn't seem to exist. And evidently Wilson must have known that, Ed, because there was nothing that is shown on this list right now, at least suspension-wise, since October 3rd of 2018 to March 6th of this year, and now we have of this incident with the Rangers.
So that Brandon Carlo thing was literally just a month ago. He hospitalized a player a month ago, and here we are. That's nuts. That's just insane.
I mean, at least we know that Carlos was still on his record then.
It doesn't.
Yeah, but still,
it doesn't seem that it matters.
That's technically the only thing that's on the record.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
Yeah. And it didn't even seem that it mattered because he was. Yeah. I mean, here's the quote that he said, because I mean, he said he was having to adjust his game. He said, "I can't be missing 7 games. I can't be missing 1 game. I got to be in the lineup." I mean, if he says he was going to make some adjustments, and he hasn't. The guy has not changed the way he's played. And the worst part about it is just, like we touched on earlier, is just the number of people, excuse me, in hockey media and just fans alone that are completely okay with what went down on Monday night. They see nothing wrong with what happened, and they think that, oh, okay, a fine's all he should have gotten for that. Yeah. At the least, he should have been suspended for the last 4 games of the regular season. They should just, at the least, he should have been suspended for the rest of the regular season.
Scotty, I respect that idea, but I feel like it should have been longer than that. I feel like he should have been suspended for the rest of this season, and probably at least the first 2 games of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too, Johnny. I'm saying, like, if you were saying I was just saying at the least he should have been suspended that much. He definitely, in my opinion, he should have gotten more. I feel like they should have took the Matt Cook approach to Tom Wilson here, and they chose not to. But at the least,
what was it? Or what was it? Was it not the one from the Oscar Sundqvist one? Or no,
20 games.
No, what player was it got suspended for the rest of the season that he even had to miss the playoffs? And
Rafi Torres.
Thank you. Rafi Torres got suspended. It missed the last 5 games of the season, missed the entire playoffs, and the first 3 games of the season in the following year. I honestly think at this point, that's what they need to do with Tom Wilson if he doesn't get it blackballed from the league.
At this point, it doesn't look like he's going to.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
as long as George Peros is the director of player safety.
I think there should be some stuff filed against that and be like, okay, well, you know how people riot against pretty much everything in the world. Let's have the NHL riot against that. Get rid of George Peros. Let's put something against Tom Wilson.
I'm surprised we've not heard something from the players' union at this point.
Yeah,
You're not going to hear anything from
this
the
is
players union because Tom Wilson is the Capitals player rep. Okay?
Of course he is.
Literally, he has everything in his pocket, dude. Everything. And the big thing that I want to talk about with the media is, last show we were just talking about this ESPN license and how excited we are. And literally within the past 48 hours, some of the people that are employed by ESPN have shown their entire ass on Twitter defending this bullshit. I don't know who Randy Scott is. Looks like he should be fucking Benedict Cumberbatch's stunt double. But keep your goddamn opinions to yourself. You don't know shit about hockey. You're too busy anchoring Sports Center talking about Bronny James TikTok every fucking morning. And then we have Greg Wyshynski talking about how, it wasn't that bad. Was it really not that bad? I mean, Artemi Panarin is out for the season. Pavel Buchnevich is banged up. And Brandon Carlo still hasn't played. The Boston Bruins have to run Jared Tenorti out on the ice every single night because of Tom Wilson. That's not okay. Oh, shit.
Good down there, Dougie.
That's the way we need it, man.
Dougie, you feel better.
There, attaboy.
That was
But yeah, I mean,
that wasn't even like, guys, that wasn't even like hockey rage. That was like actual like life stuff coming up.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Because some of those guys don't know hockey. They need to stick to the NBA and the NFL. Oh, from ESPN.
One reason why that contract was a bad idea. ESPN does not know hockey, and that's also an issue.
There's only two people on that staff that know hockey. And I would love to hear Barry Melrose's take on this.
Well, I mean, you look at the fact that
I don't even think Barry Melrose knows hockey, guys. I mean, the guy fucking healthy scratched Steven Stamkos his entire rookie year.
Fair point.
I mean, I don't think Barry Melrose knows hockey.
I mean, we got to look at the fact, too, that because all these years and everything, ESPN is supposed to be, your headquarters for all sports. And to be honest, you go look at ESPN. If you're a true fan of sports and you watch ESPN, what ESPN Sports Center, you watch First Take. If you're not a fan of the fucking NFL, NBA,
Major League Baseball,
tiny bit of college basketball when it's March Madness only, college football a tiny bit when it's in season, a little bit of MLB, and even a tiny bit of WWE. No one gives a shit. If you're a fan of hockey, don't fucking watch ESPN. You have. There's no way you could fucking win $1 million on a scratch-off ticket before you'd see them put ESPN on fucking Sports Center, or not hockey on fucking Sports Center rather. You know what I mean? You get the point.
That's like the last segment they post.
They won't even post it.
Yeah.
Before this freaking contract, they don't post anything about hockey. Who gives a shit if Connor McDavid has almost 100 points in 56 games? Like, they don't fucking care. They're just worried about if Bronny James got a new follower on TikTok, as Doug said. Like, they don't fucking care. Bronny James isn't even a pro yet.
No. I mean, they were doing the same thing with LaMelo.
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing. Everyone's about Ames. If I want to go watch him play, I'll just go over to Grant Street Park when they have the summer tournament when he comes down here. Yeah. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. So
he's in the Street League tournament.
The other thing that we need to talk about, we need to talk about the media coverage. You ever notice that like most of the people that are like so-called analysts are like the people who were like some of the most violent players to ever play the game? Like, why should I have to give a shit what Scott Stevens thinks? He knocked the best player in the world at the time in Paul Kariya out cold in the middle of the Stanley Cup Finals. Yep. I mean, people thought Paul Kariya was dead until that little burst of air came up and got him in the visor, and we could tell he was breathing. You know, why should I care what Scott Stevens thinks?
The other one that's pretty bad,
You know,
O'Neal for TFC.
why? Yeah, why should I care what Jeff O'Neal thinks? And all I'm going to see from Jeff O'Neal every day is like how Willander is Maple Leaf. And good belief is because he doesn't fuck a bunch of people in the face. You know, and like I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't listened to Spit and Chicklets in like 6 months. I haven't done it because why should I do that whenever all they're going to do is condone violence and condone?
They were going at Whitney last night.
Garbage.
They were going at Whitney hard last night because I guess he was pretty much cool with Wilson and everything like that.
Yeah, God forbid he runs your boy Sid. God forbid. Then the narrative will flip. Then the narrative will flip. I can't believe I even said that. I'm afraid that I just put that out there and it's gonna fucking happen in like a month. Shit. But yeah, I just don't get it. Yeah, I'm afraid I just jinxed it. Shit. But I just don't understand how like we're at this point, and I mean, even before, Sports Tech gave Brian Burke a platform. I mean, I get he's one of the better minds in the league, but like shit, he won a Stanley Cup in 2007 just by like killing people.
It was one of those,
and
George Peros.
What?
I said, who was one of those?
Yeah, George Peros.
Those 7 Ducks, George Peros.
George Peros, Rob Niedermeyer, and Travis Moen, baby.
No, you're forgetting
random useless people you don't even need on a roster.
By the way, I did check.
You're forgetting it was both Niedermeyer brother. There's a George Peros.
Well, yeah, I know.
And I did check,
but the other Niedermeyer brother was actually good.
I did check the numbers on George Peros' career. He actually had 36 career points. So
I thought he actually broke 100.
36.
36, 18 goals, 18 assists.
Yeah.
How many games did he play?
I was in penalty minutes.
In 474 career games.
All right, so he played almost 500 games and he scored 36 points.
Correct.
And that's your head of player safety. Are you fucking kidding me? That's absurd.
I'm scrolling through my news feed and everything right now. Oh, and I've been scrolling for like the last 5 minutes. I've seen 6, 7 of my friends all comment in the same thing. And like, what? How is this guy still in the league? That, another thing. Like I can go down on the list. It's everybody's calling for Wilson's head on here.
Well, like I've talked. Go ahead, Doug.
I had my random redneck friend from home text me last night with zero context. He just texted me. He was like, "Fuck Tom Wilson."
That's the best.
And I was like, I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, this is all I need. I'm like, this guy's a redneck. He knows nothing about the hockey. He only watches the Steelers, and he obviously saw the video on Twitter from me. I take it because I was like going off yesterday. I was like tweeting scripture.
You mean like how you tweeted about Shane Goss or having a meeting with the player safety?
All right, let's just get into this right now. Shane Goss is going to get suspended like 2 or 3 games just so the player safety can be like, hey, look at me. I'm doing my job.
Hey, I do care.
Yeah, like, hey, I do care.
Yeah.
But where's the hearing for the ref who literally let that happen, didn't call it a 5-minute major whenever Mark Friedman landed right in front of his feet?
Let's not forget,
I just don't understand.
It's like it was a trip, and they ended up calling Freeman in for a tripping call all like 30 seconds after that. I'm like, how?
Dude, that whole thing was hilarious. I need to know what Mark Friedman did in Philadelphia.
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I need to know. Like,
if you watched
Like,
that
they
game
were
last night, you
literally
could tell.
gunning for him last
Yeah.
night.
You could watch that game last night. You could tell they were just they that guy had a target on his back. I'm like, oh my god, whose wife did he sleep with? You know,
yeah, honestly,
That's the best one yet, Scotty.
who did he give the Eric Lindros treatment to? While
he
was,
reminds me.
oh my gosh.
It reminds me of like what the Penguins deal with Sprong now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
where he just says random shit in the press, and they're just like, "Oh, fuck you, buddy." Like, I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I mean, like that's the thing with Friedman, like that I don't understand is he seems like he's a good guy. Like, I just don't understand it. It's just so random that like they just want to kill him. So,
You know, like we talked about too, I mentioned it before the show, and the people on Twitter to literally, I don't know, have the balls to go out there and say that you should punish Sidney Crosby for anything. They need to come after, because there's nothing comparable to whatever Sidney Crosby did for defending a teammate and just, you know, throwing him down to the ice when he was already put down on the ice by connecting and being held there. It's just back and forth. It's not like one person just did anything. It was Konechny had him first. He finally got out of the chokehold that Konechny had him in, and just flopped back down the other way with Konechny. It's not the fact that Tom Wilson, where he comes out and just no reason beats a guy's head into the ice. I mean, what were you doing, trying to crack the ice and put him down in the water underneath? Because there's no water underneath the ice. I hope you know that, Tom Wilson. He might be too stupid to realize that, but you know,
he's too busy. I look like one of the guys from the Goon movie.
He tried to make Buchnevich look like one of those cartoons where a duck tries to stick his head under the ice in the water, just keep pounding it down. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
go ahead, Doug.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Well, the fact that there are people that are actually just trying to, you know, draw similarities and comparisons to the Tom Wilson incident with what Sid and Konechny did last night is just, like I said earlier, it's laughable. They're just grasping at straws at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to find an excuse to keep Tom Wilson out of trouble. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
I guarantee every single one of those people is in some relation or is indeed a Capitals fan.
Yep.
Because that's the only people. That's the only people who want to defend that guy as a Caps fan.
That and
it's not even that.
Yeah, that and the old guys, the old guard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're just holding on to the old notion that hockey is like literally about killing somebody and not scoring goals.
Right.
You know, and the big thing that like we need to talk about with Sid is we all know that anytime Sid does anything of that nature, it's because the league is not being properly policed enough.
Correct.
For him to be safe.
And
I mean, that's something.
I was gonna say
that's something that we've seen him do, you know, for years, ever since he came back from the concussion, you know.
Yeah.
And we didn't even touch on that. Like, how is the league not getting this after they almost lost the career of one of arguably their most talented player ever?
Yeah, I mean,
due to an illegal check to the head by a worthless third or fourth liner who ended up playing in fucking Yugoslavia by the time Sid got back from the concussion.
I mean, how many protocols, like you look at just another sport for 1 second, NFL, how many protocols they take against so many freaking rules that they have in the NFL so that players can't get hurt. I mean, the roughing the passer call right now, where when they tackle them, they can't come down on top of them, is the roughing the passer call. So how the fuck are you a defenseman and you can't always rely on getting yourself off of him when you're on your way down? That's impossible sometimes the way you hit him. Like, there's so many freaking rules in the NFL to protect the players involving injury and concussion, and the NHL doesn't do jack shit.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is.
Problem is
Johnny, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, you brought up how Sid ends up going out and doing his own thing to protect himself or stand up for a teammate, this, that, and another thing. Go back and look how many times that's happened, and then somebody else took over for player safety.
Mm-hmm.
That is it has happened 3 times since Sid came back from that concussion. Shanahan, who was the one before Peros?
Wasn't Pronger in the interim role for a little bit?
Pronger was the interim.
Yeah.
And that's not a good move either.
No.
No, but at least Pronger was a little bit smarter than freaking Peros.
Yeah, Pronger was a
Yeah,
fighter too.
Pronger
Though.
at least looks intelligent.
Yeah.
I hear Pronger anymore, and I just think that alumni game out in LA where he smashed Justin Bieber's face into the glass.
Yeah. But yeah, and like the big thing with Shanahan was he wasn't removed from the role. He took that president of hockey ops job with the Leafs, and now look at him. I mean, he helped create one of the most skilled and talented offensive teams in the league right now. But yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing's crazy. I imagine we're going to see change at some point over the summer because this isn't over. He's still going to run around in the playoffs and do something ridiculous. It's just a matter of when, and part of me hopes that they draw Boston in the first round for several reasons. And
if Boston gets Washington, I expect to see a bunch of fines and suspensions in that series.
Yeah, because Trent Frederick is Tom Wilson's kryptonite for some reason. Like Trent Frederick literally, like you ever see like those cartoons like where it's like that weird like punk ass little kid on the playground who just won't shut up? That's Trent Frederick. And for whatever reason, Tom Wilson can't handle that. So yeah. All right, guys. Anything else?
I think we've covered just about everything. Like we said earlier, can't wait to see what happens tonight between the Caps and Rangers. Hopefully, it's an entertaining game. Hopefully, majority of players stay safe. Obviously, we don't wish any injury on anybody, but we're just throwing out hypothetical scenarios here because we've watched enough hockey in our lifetimes to know that stuff like that can happen. So
yeah, I don't think there's going to be any injuries tonight, but you're going to see a lot of players getting ejected. I guarantee you,
No.
Somebody's going to be dumb enough to go after Tom Wilson.
Yeah,
Well,
but
hopefully they're smart.
We've covered enough. I've said enough curse words to, basically cover my allowance for a year. Also, while you're at it, if you didn't know, reverse retro jerseys are $160 this month at Penn's Gear.
With the player on the back.
With the player on the back. I bought myself a nice new Brian Russ jersey the other day. It just came in right before the show started. So
mine's on its way right
now.
Go
for it. It's a great deal. Go for it. So
I was going to wear Pens today
thank
too.
Thank you so much. And
yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you pulled out the Panarin one. I almost pulled out my Mother Russia Artemi Panarin jersey, but I didn't. So.
All right.
But yeah, I think this was a good talk. So, TK, take it away.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in for Checking TV, and hopefully things get better. We'll see. Watch the NHL and find out. See you next time, guys.